I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Port of Oswego Authority. First motion, oh, I'm sorry. We usually start with introductions. Bill?
Bill Scribe, Port of Oswego.
Ken Stevens, board member.
Connie Casamento, board member.
John Kara-Smith, board member.
Tom Schneider, board member.
Fran Enright, board member.
Amy Tressetter. Now, motion 0805-1901 to approve the minutes. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
John and Fran. Please take a minute to check it over. Any corrections, additions, deletions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to the administrative operational report, Exhibit B, and that's you, Bill.
Thank you, I'll make it as brief as possible. The June shift barge report, we got over 19,205 pieces of aluminum. It looks like the aluminum now is starting to turn back towards us, though not as greatly as it was a couple of years ago. It is coming back. I had conversations with a new company that's coming here. They did their due diligence inspection last week, and I had another company that's due by the end of August do their due diligence. So hopefully this tariff is turning the other way for us when it was taken off, and aluminum is coming back in the volume it was at previous years. We've got to do emergency repair to the road, and that was the rail leading into the port. Those two areas that were within the safety margins of the rail were was a great concern to us. So I authorized 2 emergency repairs to be done so we would not be shut down. They're holding, and I'll get into our project for repairing all of our port here in just a second. We also have, unfortunately, Dome 1 has come back like a, well, I don't want to say anything nasty, but it's back on our radar. Basically, the wood is starting to rot in areas, which is causing water leaks. I've had to go ahead, and as you see right now, we're having to do a lot more repairs than I want to do on it. See, we're going to hopefully tear this down. We have to do repairs because the water leakage from the storage was evident. We put a fire hose up there and those leaks. I have right now talked with the leaser of that. They're going to be putting corn into it for this summer, and I really can't have water on corn, so I had to initiate the repairs. So this is one of those gifts that keeps coming back to me, is that one dome, and it's the dome I want to get rid of.
Is there anything in there now?
There is empty right now because we basically, I had it cleared because I didn't want any water damage. So we moved it, just Tom, we moved it over to the barrel building, which is secure. I didn't want to damage anything.
Are we gonna, I mean, is this repair is supposed to get us through the winter?
Yes.
All right, and so we think this is gonna hold up under the winds with all that
Yes.
rotten wood and everything?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, it's not all. There's patches, and that's probably the next part. And honestly, if I have to cut it out, we've done an inspection. We've looked at it. There's some spongy parts, but the rest of it's holding. So what we want to do is we want to cover it to let it dry and stop the leaks, and that should stabilize the parts that look like they're going to leak. It's not my optimum choice, but it's a choice because of what we have to do there, and I am leading right back into DOT discussion with phase one. I had a conversation. We're moving towards a phase one. I'm going to have a meeting here in a couple weeks. Hopefully we can put that contract on fast track and get the FEMA one. So that's progressing ahead.
Was that the MARAD grant?
No,
No.
DOT is the money from the inland port that was not expended,
Oh, okay.
okay? And that what we propose to DOT is to do the granary upgrades in the dock and tear down Dome 1, so I don't have to repair it any longer and put up a new granary that is state of the art. I have attended 3 meetings of the Lake Ontario REDCI. Apparently, I'm on their board or whatever, their deciding group. I have one tomorrow. We have proposed modest 3 projects. These projects are projects we desperately need to do, and they're not a large amount of money. We are proposing the retaining walls on the river for both Lehigh and Sprague to be repaired. That is under $100,000 substantially to do it right and to mitigate it. We have included in that new docks for our marina, which is around $40,000. That would then replace all the docks which are substandard in the sense that the water goes over in the high water with all the new floating. All the new floating docks. Our match, of course, would be the labor and installation of that. We only want the kits. It's about $2,600 per kit plus $300 for the wood and our labor of our guys putting together. They're experts at this, so that would be our match. We also put in for, at the very north end of our dock, we have where if you go out and look at the pictures in the hallway here, the state never completed phase 1 of this building and support. They stopped 70% through. There's supposed to be another dockage over here facing the lake. That was designed to create 3 ships at dock and the deep water. They never completed that. What they did do is they left a big part of the dock sticking out in the lake. And instead of capping it off, they just piled rocks on it like the revet wall. Well, that may be good for a short-term fix, but what happens is with this high water, the water has actually got over those rocks and got in and is now eating away that part of the land. Well, you say, okay, so what's the big deal about eating away? Well, that is right where the dock connects to the land. So if we get the water going in behind that, it's going to undercut our main dock. So I've asked for, through the funding, for us to address that, and basically addressing with a very simple fix. It's going from where they ended it and bringing it back to the stable part, sheet drive it, put stone, and then asphalt it. That would keep the wave action from getting into the main dock. Just moving it along to where they really should have ended the dock in the first place, other than leaving it sticking right out in the lake.
Is that DOT money, or where does that money come from?
That's the governor's 300 million fund to Lake Ontario to create repairs. Yes,
Okay.
for businesses and municipalities.
So that
And
doesn't
now,
have any connection to the DOT?
no, it does not. This is totally separate and distinct. So one is not the other.
REDI.
Yeah, yes, what did I say?
Yeah, no, you said
REDI, yes. Yeah, that's separate and distinct. So these are not big lifts. That's the biggest lift we'll have as far as this goes. Nothing else addresses it. We have to address it, or we're going to be like a Dome 1. If you don't address issues, they get worse and worse and worse, then we have to do major repairs. The third one, or fourth one, is actually twofold. We have the Global Dry Dock and Shipyard. We all know, actually Ken and Fran has taken site visits there. Over a number of years, and more notably in 2017, the water got so high it just ate the bank away. And it's just really not a good, stable, yes, thank you for that word, stable. Originally, there was dockage there in concrete, which is gone through the years. What we're proposing is, I propose that Seeing the people like the dragon boat people, we've got that kayak and bicycle rentals there. We have other people that, boating builders use it there. They use the area and the community, yet there's been no investment in it. So what I propose to them is let's go restabilize the banks, make a real dockage like is on our marina, and put a few slips in there to make it more usable for the community in the port. Not a big lift. The worst case scenario is around 500,000. And that would be dredging it down, creating a bank stabilization, and then pouring the concrete like our marina down here, which stabilizes it. That, I think, is a very light lift, and I think it does the city and the boating community a lot of good, because it is really the only area for a lot of these organizations
It
to
would probably
utilize.
turn out to be the most permanent.
Yes, yes,
Well,
good stable.
Not only that, though, is if we do get that marine sanctuary there, that, you've seen the concepts that came through, that's, right there is what they're talking about, is that will be already done, that whole
Stepping stone into the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then, so if we're gonna do it, let's do it with that in mind, so we don't have to do it twice.
And that's really more than nothing more than a community project, because the community use it more, actually they use it more because it's really one of the only public access points over there outside of Wright's Landing, but boaters are using Wright's Landing. You don't really have, where's the Dragon Club gonna go? Where's the boat builder's gonna go? There really is no place, so that would make it available to them in a safer way. Next is the,
Just ask on the Lake Ontario Resiliency and Economic Development Initiative already. What's the decision-making body? How is it sort of scored? If they're going to be getting a number of different requests in the door relative to that funding to, frankly, remediate the high water levels that were caused maybe naturally and a little bit unnaturally. How will they make those determinations? Is there a...
O'Brien and Gear has a matrix that they've loaded all these projects in. They're supposed to rank them by the criteria of how important they are for critical infrastructure and the community. Right now, Tom, I can't honestly tell you how it's gonna be done, because tomorrow I have a meeting up there,
Right.
and,
You'll be seeing a Paul Romano there.
yep, okay.
At the end, I'll have a quick discussion.
Okay, I have yet to understand how the meeting last 2 weeks ago, was it 2 weeks ago? Basically, we walked around, had boards, and we just saw if anything was left off. Apparently, this meeting is to start culling off the projects. The governor already said there's only be $15 million per municipal, per county. And then 20 million is to be split amongst homeowners. I don't know how that's gonna work out. Tomorrow, they're supposed to tell us. I will be at the meeting tomorrow because I'm on that committee. I don't know if I have a vote or anything on it.
Yep.
So, I can't be any more instructive to the youth
No,
on that.
I think, I'll talk about something afterwards, but maybe I can be helpful.
My goal of going into this was not to ask for tons and tons of money.
Right.
My goal was basically what I told Dave Turner and Justin and City, which had a discussion with on these issues, is that we were going to look at critical infrastructure. I have leases on the west which have jobs. We're talking 25, 30 jobs, and the retaining walls are going down. To maintain the businesses, you need to repair those retaining walls. Marina, we were the only marina operating during high water through the entire event. So if it happens again, we're at 40,000, we're the cheapest investment the governor has in keeping a marina open during high water, after I explained to O'Brien and Gear and them that we spent $218,000 on a new gas and pump out dock that we built intentionally a foot higher so that we would not be susceptible to high water, and it worked. Of course, I had a lot of people complain last year about It was too high to get on the boat, and now there's nothing, it's like, they're just stepping out, it's perfect. So my goal was not to ask for everything, but ask for what I thought we really needed to stabilize the infrastructure and provide recreational opportunities, that was it. So my whole ask was small. I know when I looked at the ask for other places, well, I guess their wish lists are bigger than mine.
Yeah, I would, people would
Do
see
you-
money, they would start.
Does anybody know when they make these awards for these projects, say somebody requests 10 million, and would they award less than 10, depending on how much of a project it could do within the project?
I would, if you're looking at from, you know, a different process of the Regional Economic Development Council, the consolidated funding applications, or the Upstate Revitalization Initiative that sit under those two bodies, which is different than this READY body, they absolutely, you know, provided funding that was less than the requested amount. There would
Okay.
be communications relative to that. They would strike out certain things that they didn't think fit the criteria. So, yeah, I would think that there would be a similar outcome here where, you know, if they think there's an over ask, or if they think that there are things being encapsulated into what qualifies under READY, and you're trying to push other stuff into it, they may carve that out. But as Bill said, he doesn't know what the decision-making body looks like. I don't know what that decision-making body looks like, but I did have a conversation with a friend who's kind of the number 2 guy at O'Brien here, and would love to come up and have a conversation with you, and I think that might provide a lot of clarity.
Good.
So I'll-
Well, and the reason I didn't, you know, I've been through this whole grant for 10 years now. I know I've gotten, unfortunately, I understand thinking, and you're
Yeah.
exactly right. I wanna ask for reasonable
Yeah.
and not large amounts
Yeah.
that are verifiable and connected exactly to what they asked for. It's like reading directions. I guess I'm one of the few people in the world, actually, when you put something together, I go get the directions out, read it, and go by the directions. That's how I look at it. They want these certain things, I wanna provide them that, not too much.
The proper ask gets a lot more respect, as it should, than the, hey, there's money, I'm just gonna throw stuff in.
And honestly, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but what I was given, which was the asks, I thought I asked this like, wow. I wish I could ask for that, but I'm not gonna ask for that, because I wanna be realistic on it.
That's the kind of the finesse of grant writing, is to make sure that what you're asking for is within the confines of what they're offering.
Talk about grant writing, we have submitted a bill grant for 2019 for the $23,500,000 full build-out of the phase 1 and phase 2 for this. Still working with DOT to give me that letter, but I was told that by the DOT commissioner I should apply for it, and they'll worry about the letter. So I went ahead and we applied for it, which will make us, I don't wanna say this well, if Hamilton's listening, we're coming for your grain business. Because then I won't be sending any more ships over to the other side, they'll be coming all here, going out through the seaway. Foreign trade zone is ongoing, we had another conference call, last week, and we're now looking at software, the application will probably be done in the next couple months. Now we're looking at, a schedule of implementation. And I think that's important because, as I'm going to discuss in just a minute, because I know I'm going to get asked on it, I already prepared for it. What is Castor Loop doing? I've got a report on a number of items that can be directly related to that foreign trade zone.
Are we in a 6-month process or more like a 12-month
Or a
process?
12-month on everything, except for some stuff is less than 6 months. And I'll go over that in just a minute.
I meant on the foreign trade zone.
We're into spring before, because they're gonna require us to operate for a period of months with the software without, as a test before going live. And I can deal with that because we weren't even here a year ago or 2 years ago, so now we're at that process. I met with Finger Lakes Railway regarding a possible rail takeover. CSX is selling rail, and it's coming in this area. Canadian CN wants to buy it. I'm not for that. Actually, the rail coming into us actually is in our PFRAP grant possibilities. We have already put the rail coming into the port. We would like to own ourselves. You know where Price Chopper is? That spur that comes into the port. We have long wanted to own that and operate that ourselves. The reason is that it needs improvement of the radiuses of the turns to allow us larger rail cars, over 55 footers and double tandems. CSX obviously has not been very cooperative in upgrading that because they just want to get rid of anything that's short line. Finger Lakes wants to buy it. And they are against Canadian Railroad buying it because that takes it out of really management of the ability to operate that. They're already at the Fulton biofuels plant, and I think there's a possible synergy with them and us, meaning that in our DOT plan, number 2 of the 5 items that has been always on our wish list to do is take over that line. And I've made it clear to DOT, I want to take that line over.
Do
So
you mean
maybe
buy it?
we can buy it. Well, I'd like to buy it. I would like to buy it. We would like to buy it. It's been in our plan for at least 4 or 5 years. It was actually, it may have been in your
Part of our
time.
phase 3 that we talked about
Yeah.
earlier, you were talking about.
Yeah, it's been,
I'm just a little bit confused on this. Finger Lakes,
they're a short line.
yes, they're a short line that is owned by CSX, or they're,
No.
okay, because
They're-
some of those short lines are owned,
Finger Lake Railway is an independent.
okay, so they're independent, and their rail lines lie where?
They actually just have leases on rail lines.
Okay.
They lease it back from CSX and the other 2 short lines. They're an operator.
Right.
What they would like to do is they'd like to come in and buy from Syracuse to here, which would give them the control then over the biofuels plant they already have big stake in. But also, what interests me is more services, meaning that I don't have to wait for 2 services or pushes per week. We used to have 5. In order to grow the rail business here, A, we need to deal with those issues of degrees, and 2, we need to deal with number of services we get per week. I can't service some customers because we don't get a turnaround here. They wait days till they come, and then they may not come that week because it's snowing a little bit. So if we control our own destiny, meaning that one spur that comes into us, and let's say a Finger Lake comes over and makes an agreement with us,
Okay,
then we get service.
So you're in favor of Finger Lakes and then a potential cooperative relationship with Finger
Yes.
Lakes that allows you to control a portion at the end?
Yes.
Would they be interested in doing the radiusing of the curve that needs to be done, or?
That would be a little bit beyond their reach because we can go for it with state money.
Okay.
The two curves that would be within the area that we would want to own. And then that, I already know the costs for each of those curves. It's been on the planning board for a long, I didn't come up with this idea. This is going back to Jonathan Daniels' time here at the port. So it's been a while. And what I would do is I would apply for a PFRAP to take and repair the first curve, and then in the following year, repair the second curve. And I think we'd be successful in doing that because we have that plan established with DOT. We actually have a market that's waiting for us if we fix them.
Does DOT have to approve this change of,
Ownership?
yeah,
Yeah, they're selling them.
DOT? All right, so, Mike,
Well, DOT would regulate it.
Right.
And so they would insert themselves into any
Contest between companies?
acquisition contract, they would probably
Right.
review and either approve or not object to the transaction.
Does Finger Lakes Railroad have the expertise to handle what they want to do?
Yeah. I sat here with the president and one of their operations people, and I've done the research on it. This was going back years here. I mean, I'm not the first one to have a meeting with them. It's just, it's gotten now to the point where CSX is willing to give up the line and sell it, so now this is real. Before it was, what if we could, this would be a great plan, now see it, but they never wanted to give the line up. Now they wanna give the line up.
If you're looking for a little, you know, additive intelligence on short line rail, Bowers and Company, their main source of business
Yep.
originally, Tom Bowers, was short line railroads, so they're.
I had that discussion with them a couple of years ago when they were here, and yes, that's, I mean, if it gets to the initial stage where we have to, you know, start moving in that direction, I'd come and ask for a consult with them,
Yeah, they-
maybe them representing
They
us.
just might still have, yeah, they might be conflicted about that, but I don't know if they do Finger Lakes, I know that they handle, you know, the county audit services for a lot of short line.
So I just think this is one of those, you know, far off in the distance things that now it's got really close. Now you can read the license plate number on the car. It's not something way out in the distance. I just wanted to give you a heads up, because I
You don't
may
wanna
very
bring it
well
up in the
be,
blue.
I may be coming up with a plan for it.
Okay.
So, marine highway designation, we included the press release. What does that mean? That means we're kind of special. We always knew we were special, but now we're one of only 34 ports in the United States to be designated as a marine highway. What does that mean in reality? That means now we're eligible $7 million in grant funding to grow business at the port. Green Lines was a,
Federal funding.
yes, federal funding, and we only compete against 34 other ports. It's not this big pot like Build or anything, it's nothing. We are only dealing with ports who are designated highways. Once we have a designated highway going into Lake Erie, into Lake Michigan, which gives us a lot of opportunities for growth. The first one is Green Lines. I've already had a conference with them. We're putting together a proposal for Nogales, and we'll be applying this cycle for reach stackers that are capable of handling the business. Not guaranteeing anything, but this is a heck of a lot further than we were 2 years ago when it was a dream.
What did the Maritime Administration like about this port that it was designated?
It liked our aggressive plan to grow. And it was, I don't want to say, I'm not going to pat myself on the back. Okay.
Just say what you think the truth is.
The truth is, they liked the vision. And we had a lot of people that I had talked to that I think I got excited about the port re-entering the market the way the other 4 lakes are right now. We're at a disadvantage with the 4 lakes. I mean, they're still their own little world, and we've been excluded from that world, and this is our connection to that world. And it takes, I guess, a very aggressive vision to see yourself competing in that world. And the former Great Lakes Administrator, Floyd, he was very, very positive about the Port of Oswego, wanting to see it grow. And he was very instrumental in pushing this application.
So the association executive believes in what you're doing here and through his support behind it.
Yes.
What did he say about the super enthusiastic and hard-working board of directors you have behind you?
I think he specifically said Ken Stevens was a great vice chair, and
He said that RV park is gonna rock.
Yeah. But, you know, in all seriousness, you know, this was an application. You had to sell them on paper. You had to do the interview. You had to stay on them. I think that we accomplished the goal, is getting our feet in the door for bigger markets. And that was what I needed to accomplish. It's not gonna be easy. It's not coming overnight. It's gonna be just as much hard work as getting the foot in the door, but we're in the door. So now we can start, what does it say about a camel, its head in the tent, you know?
Well, we just gotta keep pushing.
Yeah, and we're pushing in all different ways. And I will say this, is that the day of the governor's visit here, I don't know if it was a visit so much as a takeover, Patty can tell you about that, oh my God. Everything was just broken down, everything was just, I had to stop operations for a few hours, so it's like unbelievable. Anyway, but we love to have the governor here. But, it got released like, what was it, Patty? Maybe just like that night before? It got released the night before, and I had a conference call. So I didn't want the governor's office to be caught out of, so I gave Mike Wojner the thing in there, and then I got all these questions about it. You know, what does it mean? And I basically told them, I said, it means the only port on Lake Ontario is now playing in the big leagues. We went from the minor leagues to the show. Now we're in the show, the other 4 lakes. So I think that now they understand what we're trying to accomplish here and where we want to go. So I think it helps us, because this is, you know, you look at the press release, there was only a handful of ports that got designated. LA Long Beach got something, I mean, big ports. I mean, I hate to say we're small, but we were the only small port there. So they usually don't take chances on us.
Well,
So-
they see the same thing I think that we see, is we have the potential of being a big player, and we're moving in that direction.
I think they were impressed on the direction this board is taking and how you guys are visioning us into the future, you know, so that's
I
what
think that was what is important too, is why we keep that rail. You know, we don't sell, we don't, you know, keep control, because that's part of our plan.
I'd like
I'd
to
say
see
you expedited
Good
it,
job.
so we get paid some of that big money they're making now today.
Okay. Now I got
All
some,
in good time.
now I got some reports. I'm gonna pass this around, I'm not gonna discuss it to any great degree, but we now have a schedule on our dock repairs. This is for your knowledge. It's not set in stone, but we've started. I am pushing for it to be quicker. But, unfortunately, there's many things I cannot control in this world, and DEC, Coastal Resources, Army Corps, and contractors are all in that area. But we are moving ahead, and I wanted to give you some documented proof today that we are moving ahead, and we have a schedule. I don't like the schedule, but we're gonna move ahead with the schedule. And I'm gonna push them just as hard as I can to put the timelines up. But here's our first project status report for the high water damage repairs. And I'll try to keep you updated, I will keep you updated each month with a report of where we stand. And I have talked to Ron Epstein at DOT. I'm sure he is going to, or he offered his assistance in trying to crank the schedule down and make it as fast as possible. So,
the MBE, WBE designation they're using are minority and business enterprise?
yes, yeah, because we will be using partly state monies and partly federal. We've got to hit all the, like,
What is CME Associates, what's their function?
where are you looking at? Oh, CME?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're using them, associates, they're testing, and the other one is an underwater survey company.
Okay.
Okay, so those are our minority businesses.
And prudent engineering?
And state disabled veterans also,
Okay.
okay? We're required to do a percentage for WMBE, and then also SDOV. That's a veteran who's
Veteran.
disabled, that's their business. Okay, those we have to balance. So a lot of the balancing is CNS right now, which we approved, their RFQ to handle this project, is lining up all the contractors now to get this done, and then we'll go ahead, the initial stage, and then we put the full contracts out to bid.
How do you figure a percentage of participation by the amount of contract?
No, actually, by state law. It's,
Overlay?
yeah, a 17A tells us we have to have 30%.
No, I mean, how do you make that calculation? Do you know?
By
that
the
you-
contract amount.
By the contract
Yes,
amount?
and what the state
So if it's a
amount
$1 million
is.
contract, if this MBE's got $100,000.
And 75% of it is federal, then you deduct out and only have the state amount, you have to match that percentage,
Okay,
okay?
so
So-
how are we doing with the contractors we already have? Have we met what we need to do?
Right now, the port is the annual year closing, which as soon as it's official, I'll tell you what it is. Unofficially, we've met over 38% and a WMBE is required. We're required to do 30. We've done 38, a little over
But
38.
CNS in a sense is acting as the GC, and
Right.
it's really the GC who manages the process to make sure that they, they're aware of the, minority business enterprises, the other business enterprises, and I wasn't aware of the disabled veteran organizations, but they know the contractor base is out there, and so they manage that on
Yes.
your behalf as a GC.
They probably also realize that there's a lack of those particular contractors in a certain part of that particular business that's being done too, right? So they give you a breakdown on that?
They,
We can ask for waivers,
they,
Yeah.
yes.
it sometimes gets complicated to find, the match up.
The requirement?
The contractor, and, then the greatest sin you could make is those organizations who fake it.
Okay.
That is, you run the business, put it in your wife's name, who really doesn't run the business, and then call it a women-owned enterprise. That's a cardinal sin that they will not forgive.
I can probably imagine the more enthusiastic you are about soliciting MBE, WBE, SDVO, I think.
SDVO, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's, GCs, particularly at this level, CNS knows the lay of the land.
Just makes me feel better to know that we're meeting or exceeding, that's good.
We're meeting, exceeding it, and Tom is correct, they are very good at meeting that. We did that during our last 3 contracts with them on the rail. They were right on the ball, caught us. That's why we don't have a hit from anybody saying, when we ask for money, we've fulfilled our obligations under state. And this is state money, so we have to make sure we do it. Okay, a couple little items going on. Casper Loop, right now, I have a number of
You did
projects.
have employee handbook and both.
Oh, yes,
At Chairman's Scriber's suggestion about two,
I
two
don't
and
promote
a
him.
I'm not a
Don't
chairman yet.
promote him.
Oh, executive. Bill suggested that.
Are we gonna switch yours on? We can do
So I
that.
sent an email to members of the committee and actually to everybody in case the new people wanted to be on that committee. And nobody has responded. And as I said in that email, like this week, I'm seeing a medical professional or having a test every day this week and part of next week too. So I suggested that Bill and I meet and talk about this and then bring it to the committee and then bring it to the board.
Okay,
It is a board policy, so
Yeah.
all we can do is, we went through an HR company. We have right now Paychex to get this, to get it up to the new standards. It's a lot of stuff that's gotta be put in that wasn't there when it was done. But the board's gotta review it and the board's gotta pass it, so I'd be glad to meet with you and go over it in
Sure.
detail.
Does everybody have a copy of the existing handbook? Because I've got mine at home.
I don't
I've read
think I
it
do.
several
Can you
times.
get someone?
But you were saying you sent out,
I don't remember getting the email.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you
no,
were-
I
you were
sent it
new.
out a while ago.
Yeah, it was, you're new, so you missed that.
Before me?
Yeah.
Who's
Okay.
on the committee, you and I?
You and I and Amy.
Amy, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
yeah.
I can have the proposed sent out again.
I did get it, I did read it.
was that a June 11th email?
Probably. I don't know if it quite back then, but it might have. I thought it was more in July. Because I also said in the email that maybe the week of the 5th of August, but I know the week of the 12th, I'm tied up, and then about 2 weeks we're back to school, so.
I'm not sure that the attachment got attached.
Well, I checked it, make sure it went to everybody.
No, I mean, I've done it a million times. I go to send an attachment to people, give them the whole long email about what I want to say, and then forget to make the attached. I don't see an attachment to the email. If it was this one, Jim.
We can send out the
Yeah.
policy all to
Yeah.
everybody again.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that doesn't, so the handbook wasn't attached though.
Not to his, it was the one I sent out to everybody.
Ah.
Mhm.
sorry.
Yeah.
I sent the
Sorry.
handbook out to everybody
Sorry.
originally,
Because I did get one.
yes,
When did
and
you send it out?
I don't recall offhand, to be honest with you. I mean,
I don't have a lot
I don't even wanna go in tonight and look at my email right now, cause I know the number I'll have waiting for me that I have between now and then I read.
Well, don't.
So is there a physical handbook or is it all digital?
No, it will be physical, if it's
Yeah.
digital, we send it
Yeah,
out,
it's paper.
yeah.
I don't have a lot of, I need some clarifications of what's in there, but evidently there's a lot more stuff that should be in there that isn't in there.
Correct.
Yeah, so.
The one that originally, that when I came to work here, was kinda sparse and outdated.
Yeah,
And didn't really address all the laws that have been passed in preceding years. I mean, that was like 1980s.
mhm.
And really what we did, we had for free, through the payroll company we use, their HR actually gave us a boilerplate, and then we had Meg and Debbie and
Yeah.
myself sat down over a period of weeks, well, months, and actually updated it to what the port was, because we got boilerplate, there's certain things we have, and to where it met the legal standard, and what we wanted to see here in the port. So that's the one I sent out to you, that was
Yes.
the draft.
Yeah,
So we can send that out again to everybody.
okay.
Just let me make a note somewhere on my paper here.
What about bylaws? Do we?
Yes, we have bylaws. I
They're
can,
the boards.
I can
Yeah.
send
So-
you a copy of the bylaws, and they're on our website.
Oh, there, okay,
There.
okay.
Yes. What you
My
bring
bad.
up is,
That's okay.
you know, a larger issue that, what I sat on face is, what do we have for new board orientation?
Right.
Usually the answer is, not so much.
I get it.
So the enabling legislation, the bylaws, any charters, you know, things like that should,
I've been thinking along those lines and
Yeah.
thinking that we may be able to arrange a day, an afternoon or a full day where we all get together at a different location and go over some of these things. For
Yeah.
anyone, it wouldn't be required, but anyone who is interested, that we could sit down, Bill could be there,
I think
and we
it's
can
to
talk about
circle
all of these
back
things
around to
and,
the council issue.
yes,
Potential
exactly,
retention of council come in and say, do we
that's right.
have the documents that?
I was gonna suggest someplace like Tailwater Lodge. You go up in the morning, you can have breakfast, you have lunch.
Very supportive of cash flow into Tailwater Lodge.
Then I think we already have a one taker. No, Amy and I discussed, and I just suggested you go like, you gotta have uninterrupted time.
Yeah, definitely.
And
I've done,
Do you want me to
I've done
take
board
notes?
retreat there too.
I think it's a great idea, and there's a person at the college that can kind of coordinate it all
Yeah.
and lead us, and
Excellent.
I think it'd be a great idea for
So
us.
for facilitation, yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah, good.
So I'll send out an email with dates and so on.
Excellent.
Yeah, when
you
school
get
begins,
breakfast
my
and
best
lunch.
days are
Hey.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
None of it's not.
I'm back under 185, so I can do that.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, when you get through with this, we got cupcakes, I think, later, don't
I saw that, dessert.
we? Yeah, well, not every month, not every month.
I'm gonna bring a blanket next week and just
Okay.
stay here
Is there a
overnight.
birthday we should open?
No,
Okay.
well,
When
mine's not yet, but
When cupcakes come in, it's usually at the back of somebody's.
I just wanted to sweeten you guys up tonight.
All right.
Uh-oh.
The-
Cash the Loop is is now back up and running on trying to get us business. I have 2 large windmill projects that are on tap for us. Unfortunately, one of them may be pushed back a year because there's so many on tap. We're looking at maybe getting some of these in next year in the FTZ zone and having them stored up if it's given us for a while. There's some other here that we've quoted on and they're working on. One is gonna be a split between us and Buffalo, just because where it is. And that I can take because I'd rather have half than none at all. So, then also we have just today, and these are just a few of the things. I mean, I've got a lot that they've been out bidding on, but as Phil told you, you bid on a lot of them before you get anything. Another one is we just got a request for 15 modules from Ohio to be railed on us and then shipped back out by ship. Looks like we're in the final on that one. Again, we're waiting for CSX clearance. They have to clear our line in. So I hope no bad news on that. Also, we have one right now I'm in discussions with. It's coal. We used to handle coal here.
Coke or coal?
This is coke. Coke.
Yeah.
What they're looking for is bringing in via abroad into the port. They would use a clamshell, drop it on dock. There'd be about 4 trips a year. We would then take it and we would then screen it, get the little fines out the coke, they'd reload it and take it up into the other lakes. That I'm in the process of getting videos on. I may do a site visit. It's going to be a possibility if I can find a place for it and it's not going to interfere with our operations too much.
Is there any EPA extra regulations that go along with it?
Right now, no.
No.
The materials hazard sheet is pretty mundane. It's not really an issue, but of course I would want to have a discussion with the EC before we get too far into it.
Yeah.
So this is many steps to get there. So those are just because there are people that ask about it. I just wanted to give you an update. I mean, we have a number of quotes out now on items for next year and the year after. So they are working hard. It's their benefit for money. But that brings me.
Our job is to move commerce.
Yep.
To handle items safely, it's not to be environmentalists and make judgments.
Right.
Right. And this is going to come somewhere at some point, and there's no difference between us and another port.
Yeah.
So,
Some of the local people with their electric cars, their electricity is made by burning fossil fuel.
but these are to build steel furnaces, to go to steel
Yeah.
furnaces. With bringing that up, I have had it strongly suggested to me by Castro that the Port of Oswego has been non-existent at major events for a number of years,
Okay.
a lot of years.
And these major events are?
Well, the one is Break Bulk Americas. We have not had a presence there in a long, 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 long time.
It what?
Break Bulk Americas. It's in Houston, Texas this year. What this is if you want to read, I gave you a lot of stuff. I'm not going to any of the other stuff, so forget about the golf tournament now. I'm not going for that. Because all your windmill companies, your heavy lift companies like GE, all the people who are looking.
So now we get into the point where we start talking about the business development role versus the operational administrative role and the lack of, the person that you hand to on the administrative role if you were going to do the business development role. Because,
We're already moving ahead on that. We've got the list and we're starting on Friday on interviews. I expect by the end of August, but this is now. End of beginning of September, we'll have a candidate.
big believer being present where business is
Potential
done.
businesses.
I agree.
That's right.
Well, and this is important, that's why, we've had some, getting here was a little bit of I mean, I had immediacy, I know you may not think so, but my immediacy was a mechanic. Getting a mechanic, and we got a mechanic, so, yeah.
Well, you
So
know,
now we shifted off to this one.
There's no question in the evolutionary change of the leadership, there, there was a period in time where that would have been prioritization, stabilization of the workforce was prioritization, and then at the point where you can get out and do business development, that seems to be a good role for the executive director to be engaged in.
And that's what I wanna have this done by leaving, because that would be the person that would be handling the day-to-day, or at least on the phone, I could instruct here. So that was my timeline. We were already starting on Friday with the first interview, and we'll move along as we move forward to pick someone. And the chairman will be in those interviews with me, even though I know it's my appointment, I've been told, but I still want to have a second set of ears in that interview, so as I make a recommendation or appointment. But, getting back to Break Bulk Americas, that is the major place where everybody wanting to ship or sell is. And that is, I think, Cash the Loop has very aggressively put it to me, I need to attend there because there's a number of businesses they want me to be introduced to and help them sell the port.
I think
So that's,
what you do is have a business and travel budget line item, and then you need to manage within the budget line item, but you need to develop business if you're going to create the commerce that you're primary
well, I'm
objective.
just telling you what it is that Amy gets approved on travel, we'll have a travel voucher for today. And it's not that expensive, $195 registration, the round ticket's around $320, $350, depending if we do it now. And motel stays, I haven't got a clue, but it's not a huge lift. I'm gonna go down for the 8th and 9th and come back the morning of the 10th. One whole day down there should be enough. In the afternoon, I'll probably get an evening fly out as soon as my Patty finds me flights. She's good at that.
You know, just check it out, Bill, if you see that you need another day, you know, if things are
Yeah,
going
sure,
well.
take it.
That's what I
take
was
it.
gonna say.
But what I wanted to bring this up with the Castro Loop is that Castro Loop wants me to go down because I'm a good advocate for the port, and they want to put a face to the port, and I'm the face they put to the port.
Oh, you're the director.
Yeah, so that's, they actually want to plan a whole day of me going with them and meeting possible and potential business customers. So I don't mind traveling, but Houston, Texas is a ways away, but it's in October, so I don't think it'll be that bad. So,
In the 70s.
yeah, I hope so. I don't want to be down there again. So I plan on staying away from anything other than just the convention center and getting this done. Maybe I can just.
Plenty of business gets done in the golf course now.
Yeah, I know. So that's the end of my report.
All right.
Business is relationships.
Thanks, Bill. We're gonna move on to motion 08-05-1902 to accept the June primary financial reports, which is Exhibit C1. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
John and Ken. So take a look at the financial reports and Bill will answer any questions.
Well, I'll try. Our cash position is gone up a little bit. That's due to, it'll go up a lot because we're basically a month and a half, almost 2 behind. Which doesn't account for a lot of other things but the aluminum is coming back a little bit. And that is basically a very positive. Pensions for this on the write-offs this period.
the, grant receivable down, no, that's the other receivable, so.
Grant receivable will be down.
Yeah, the other receivable is at some point. It's either receivable or it's not. And it could issue the 3-day chill.
Okay, I'm trying to clean up as many of those predating issues as I can. I will say, this is better progress than the May financials. We're moving ahead, and I'm trying to make adjustments where we can. It's like the song, I didn't promise you a rose garden this year.
Petunias will do.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. You got your marina project. And just as we're on this topic very quickly, I'd like to tell you, I'm very proud of Bernie at the marina. He basically took over the management of the global dry dock and shipyard. Now we call it Oswego Marina West. And during Harbor Fest, we brought in almost $2,000 in added revenue through the sale of slips there and for camping. So, when someone does something good like that, I gotta say it. He actually took charge and did a great job at bringing more revenue in. And that's gonna be reflected in our revenue for the marina.
Does anyone have any more questions for Bill on C1? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to motion 08-05-1903 to accept the June subsidiary financial report, which is Exhibit C2. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Henry, John. So take your time looking at C2 and ask Bill any questions you have.
Couple of things that I'd like to mention. I like the glider oil company designation, marina resale gas. I like that. That gives it a little bit better.
I know those are big hefty bills, but we get the money back plus.
I understand. Now, Northern Boat Lights boat repair is a pass-through again.
Pass through.
Okay.
We take a markup on those, yes.
Brown and Weintraub, June lobbying and consulting. What's going on with Mr. Brown and Mr. Weintraub?
Well, you got your match with FEMA money, and now we're working on finding a contract for the phase 1.
Are they earning their money?
Yes.
Okay, how
And
about,
actually, they're coming down in several weeks to meet with any board members that wish to be here.
okay,
So I'm going to float you a couple, 3 dates, and they're going to present what they've done for us, and if we would like to continue it.
well, we've had them for a year already?
Well, no, not a year.
Oh.
No, they want to come down and just talk
Okay.
directly to the board, outside of Fran and I.
The next,
I'm sorry, who is that?
Brown and
Brown and
Weintraub, our
Weintraub.
lobbyists. They want to actually come down, have a meeting with many board members they can, and go over what they've accomplished for us and what they see in the future.
the next is Wex Incorporated, fuel for port vehicles.
Yeah, this is gas card.
Who is Wex?
Wex is a
Gas card.
gas card company.
Okay.
Wex. Yeah, and that's for like any, the mechanic shop, myself, taking deposits to the bank, all that stuff.
All that stuff. Page W38, I think it is Mohawk Global Trade Advisors, 14,000.
FTZ Consulting, that's half of the application fee.
Okay. And there was one other thing that I wanted to just ask you about. Oh, the Doosan lease payment, is that a lease to buy or is it a total lease?
Total lease.
Total lease?
Total lease.
How much more time do we have on
That's
that?
brand new now. Well, it's showing you the old one. We
Okay.
Doosan won the low bid, lowest acceptable bid. The other company that came in the lowest was Tracy, but they wanted basically 6 months to ship one here. And we
Okay.
never had any association with Komatsu. So the second lowest acceptable bid was Doosan.
Now, Doosan, is that 39.19, is that a higher payment than we were paying for the first one?
No, it's almost, it was in a few dollars, I would say.
Okay.
Yes, we got a really good deal on that.
And also, would there be a chance to buy a year-old, brand-new model and wind up owning it, and would it be cheaper than a lease?
Want to say that again? You had two questions and then at the same
Yeah, would there
time.
be an opportunity to buy a year-old, brand-new model, buy it?
In the RFP, we accepted within current year and new past year.
Okay,
The current year was actually what was offered as the low bid. So they had an opportunity. However, you usually don't make equipment this large
a
and have
purchase?
them, no, the equipment, the 550 DL, this size equipment does not get made, I mean, smaller ones, yes, you may have, but these are the largest loaders, commercial loaders outside of the specially made ones for, like gravel and stone pits you can buy. They don't sit on lots
For
of
quarries,
yeah,
yeah.
they're too expensive.
Okay,
So this one actually, why I believe they offered it at such a low price is they actually had one sitting in New York State that they could offer to us. Because actually, I needed a loader within a month.
okay. Next, I gave you a star on accounts payable. And we actually took money away from the worker compensation funds.
We
Star
have-
on the top of the report card, but it's
Yeah, I mean, look, it's almost all zeros.
For my review, I want that noted.
a
please.
star.
Yeah, because our workers' compensation rate has gone down. Again, there's been a real focus here on safety, and that is actually saving us money.
One of the byproducts.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
putting so much, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have not had a reportable in 2, going on 3 years.
And Lehigh Hanson,
Yes.
tons of money here. And also Purdue,
Purdue is not tons, they paid.
yeah, I see their,
Yeah, and that's not unusual for it to go to that
To those.
31 to 60, no. I mean, usually what happens is they'll have questions on the bill. Patty's very good at clearing those questions up. And, you know, just a few days back and forth in emails takes a week, and, you know, that's just the way it is. Lehigh Hanson, we right now, I do not want to discuss this in an open meeting, because it's executive session material. If you want to ask me about Lehigh, I can be more than glad to answer it in executive session. But it's,
okay, I'm looking, the wharfage fees are an awful lot better.
Yes, because we're now getting ships in.
Yeah, we're only 33,000 behind.
Yeah. Well, again, the tariffs killed us, and we are starting to catch up. We have 2 ships in August scheduled to come in.
Good. Okay, that's all for me, Tom.
This impress fund report has always been in there in my memory, why? And there's a certain dollar
It's-
amount
it's-
that
it's-
should go to the board as opposed to every,
It's always been there. It's always been there.
and with all due respect, there's sometimes I think we're going past governance on these side.
I don't. It's one of those things that's automatic, it's always been there, so I don't like to rock the boat unless I'm told to rock it. That was a good pun.
Okay, are we set?
Are you saying maybe we could do without it?
No. For you, raise questions, if I was him, I'd be like, here we are, it was our budget. How much depth do you want to talk about before you move from management to governance? Yeah, but I don't want to take your funding either.
That's fine.
I might just look and say there's a dollar amount.
You know, that's a good point, Tom, because I've served on about 11, 12 years of school boards. They don't receive the detail that you guys do, but this is how it's always been, so I'm not gonna change things.
All right.
And if I'm board member, you give me information, it begs the question. If I don't have the information, it doesn't beg the question. Given that there are perhaps some policies we also don't have in place, and specific delegations of authority, perhaps this process stands in lieu of that until we can maybe get some more comfortable with all of our governance policy structure and that. This way we are seeing everything, I think this is every check you got, right?
Yeah, and I think that retreat, if people could dedicate, you know, some time to it, that is where, you know, we can actually, the board can actually put its priorities out. And, you know, you don't necessarily have to write everything. There's a state regulation or a law, something that can be boilerplated and given to you to review and then make your own changes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not that I'll make them, but you just have to, we'll be we'll be your hands on the typewriter, direct what we want, what you want to say.
You know, on the other side also, there's no internal audit function, so maybe this also serves
That's that.
as some oversight duties, and yet policy, how there would be no fear violation.
Well, that brings me to a point I wanted to make. There is a position that I am going to, at some point in time, when the second command comes on, they're gonna be responsible for spot checks. Meaning pulling bills, checking, make sure it's got a PO, stuff like that. That's gonna be one of those duties. School districts have it, and I think we need to have it too. Not supplant an audit, not that, but to do a double check on things. To make sure that we're following the processes that we should be following, and not waiting for an audit to come and point them out. And there is a model for that in the state. And for a long time, I, in my former position, was supposed to do that, but I was not asked, or I actually was actively asked not to do that, or assigned that duty by the class directors. And I have no problem being totally honest with you. I think it's necessary, not so much as to say we're doing anything wrong, but to keep everybody on track, to making sure the paperwork's done correctly and not just passed
It's not
off.
left out or
Yeah.
forgotten.
Because, let's face it, it'll fall onto me and then it falls onto the board.
Exactly.
And I don't want that to happen, so.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And by the way, I'm not in any way
Well-
criticizing the questions.
Motion carries.
I actually had questions about some of those expenses, so that's why I asked.
No, I know.
We'll move on to chairperson's report. I'm gonna pass this around because I haven't sent it out in email yet. It's new committee assignments. There's not very many changes. I sent out an email letting you all know that I accepted Jerry Brown's resignation from the board. I would like to say at this meeting that I very much appreciated his service on this board, his support of me and the rest of the board. He served on this board for a long time, ethically and faithfully, and I certainly appreciated that. We will be replacing him. As we can.
No.
Next, board meeting times and dates. The first Monday of the month can be difficult as far as the, what is it called, Bill? As far as people. Yeah, we'll need 2 more, I think.
Is it 9 or
We're supposed to have 9 total.
9?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot he was, okay.
Just that, it's just,
Yeah, he's new, and I didn't see him, so I just
Ken had already
forgot.
drained all the math. Yeah.
A suggestion from Bill is that finance-wise, to have this meeting on the third day of the month would be much more,
We have all our financials done over with for the month, and we'd be able to give you complete accounting. We're always dealing a month or two behind.
Yeah.
I like to keep things current,
So
so I
on
get those
Wednesdays.
questions, it takes me a little while to remember it.
Wednesdays.
well, I'm open for anything. I'm probably,
I only wanted to readdress this issue only because I know it's one of those things, we've always done it this way, but I'm not saying it can't get a lot of new board members. Maybe we should rethink the meeting times and dates.
Sure.
I'd like to have it a little bit later, in the month, so that our finances and everything could be there and current for you. And as far as the daytime, I don't know, but I'd really like to have some staff here. I'm not sure, I heard rumor that this was held earlier in the day, many years ago. I don't know, maybe Tom, you can address that.
Don't recall. But
Okay. It eats into the nights for everybody. I mean, we operate basically from 7 to 5 every day. I would see what the board would like to do for an earlier time. I don't know what your schedule would be during the day or others, but if we could have it maybe at like 2 or 3 or even 4, where I could have some staff here for interactions.
any comments?
Yeah, I could come at 10,
Yeah,
have the coffee on.
I'm flexible too. I can come any time of day,
You know, you
Well,
guys are
it-
working
Yeah,
there,
it,
and
it,
that's
you know,
more
it
important.
depends on, the day, but once if it's not already carved out, then it's just carving out a time, so if it was like,
Right.
a Thursday at 3 to 5:30 or something, then that would get carved out, so if there's nothing else, it's already there. Be sure that I don't have anything that's specifically there. Now, would that mean for the next month there's not something there?
right.
Yeah, so there'll be.
Well, my concern is basically you, because you have a very full schedule. I didn't know,
Yes.
we all have full schedules, but I'm saying is that, I know many of you are retired, in the sense that doesn't mean you're not busy, but maybe a daytime meeting might be better for some people. I mean, I'm not trying to break everything, but,
This is close enough,
yeah.
distance-wise, it goes in, Syracuse, where I have a couple of organizations that need noon in Syracuse, that means I've got
With the additional
Pile
physical
of
things
some other
that
stuff
are going
around
on
in
for Ann and I would need a couple of months
To make sure that you
to
could
make
be
sure that I
there.
could carve out that section, because
Mhm.
she's having surgery Friday, and then I've gotta have back surgery in the mid part of September.
Okay, well, we certainly don't have to change this right away. It's
No.
something we can think about. I can email, because Rajat's not here, and he may have some
His own.
concerns too.
Yeah,
So I think the best thing for me to do is to send out an email, and we'll address this, and everybody can send in any concerns they have. Like, I know as far as I go, and as Fran said, he's pretty flexible, it doesn't matter. I can pretty much be
well, he's
here.
got that
with all your
ball
medical
game
visits, I
going on.
hope everything is okay.
Okay.
I hope so too. I should know by the
I think
end
it's
of the
like everybody else. Once we know the date and the
It is
time,
what it is.
we'll just schedule around that.
Yeah, I've done that before and
Yeah.
other things.
We do it for an evening too,
Yeah.
so
I mean, the
Yeah.
county has day meetings
they do.
and committee meetings. I mean, not gonna say we need to follow the county, but is that I just thought, maybe you want your evenings off. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't, not saying I do, I mean, I have no problem, but I'm here anyway. But the point is, I would then have some people available.
Right.
And you'd see some operations possibly, and maybe a little bit more interactive.
I'll send an email out, and in the next couple of months, we'll make a decision.
And when committees meet, there's no,
The committee
Establish
chairman
meeting
speaks
date.
with his
month.
committee,
Sure.
and
I'll email.
and they decide when and where,
gotcha, okay.
okay? Yeah. All right, I was here for, what was the date? It was last week when the governor was here? right?
Mhm.
Yes, it was.
Okay, I was here, John, you were able to be here,
Yes.
Fran, you were here.
Yeah.
I was, and Connie was here, and of course Bill. It was
Quite the show.
a nice event, and it was nice that they came to the port for that.
Great. Well, that's the second time he's been here in as many months almost, well, actually 3 times now.
Yeah,
So,
I think
You know.
the governor does a great job over in upstate New York.
he does.
and I think he has a special place in his heart for Oswego Port, so
It's a good thing.
it seems to appear on the agenda, if you're anywhere near here, he's here. So,
That's it for me. So, we'll move on to committee reports, and the executive committee has no report. Audit and finance, Tom, do you have anything?
We do not, but we do have an agenda item, which is, we had, I believe, pushed I know we did, Bill pushed the audit report out. The audit committee did approve or accept the annual audit as presented by Bowers and Company. We do have a motion that's under item 8 and motion 080519, which I would actually change the language to ratify over approve.
Okay,
Because I think that I don't know, in this particular case, I know in public traded companies, the audit committee is one who's responsible for hiring. So therefore, the audit committee is accepting the report, the board is ratifying the action after.
okay.
At this point, just playing with language, but
Okay.
get a little bit tentative sometimes. Why didn't say, the A word. I believe it's a biological term,
Yes.
physiological.
Governance, John.
Yes, we haven't met, but I want to right now welcome Connie to the committee, and I will send an email out probably later today, and to decide whether the committee can meet with Bill, or if it would be just as appropriate for me alone to meet with Bill and get some of those agenda items and then meet. So I'll send an email out and hopefully get your responses.
Okay, thank you, John. Planning and development, that's you now, Fran.
Yeah, and Connie is now on the committee with us.
Yes.
I just want to say that when I'm looking at planning and development, I'm looking at under kind of 2 different aspects. One is the commercial end that I see that Bill is doing, and I've talked with Bill about this, and I think he's doing a great job along with all our commercial stuff, and we got our different phases of development going. And as far as planning goes, I look at things like single point failures that I want to plan that in the future, like we're having a single point failure on a roof right now because at the time it was built, it never had a rubber membrane that was put underneath it. Things like that has come back to haunt us over the years. So I just want us to keep in mind when we're developing things like that, that we look at a single point of failure where it is feasible and affordable for us to construct, like in this case, a membrane under the roof. The other point of a single point failure that was very obvious to me was our electrical, not having a backup generator. Not to say that Bill hasn't thought about it, because we've talked about this, and he has, and there's a plan in place. But this is what I think that we need to know, that one, if there is a failure of electrical, one, we are covered here. We're open for business. The port is not going to lose money, and 2, we're not going to present a dangerous situation to any of our workers or people here at the port, which could happen with lost power. So those things are very important, to keep business flowing smoothly here at the port, also at our marina, where we have pieces of equipment that we rely on and lean on tremendously, that if they break, we're out of business. and really there's no plan in place, or hadn't been. I mean, we're talking about it now, in order to have a backup and something that is affordable and we can stay in business. For instance, just the fact that we had floating docks kept us open for business, made us look like heroes as far as this lake goes. This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. And we've made the steps now to put in more floating docks, and which is going to be huge in this lake. The other things that we have our lift system there that's ancient, that we only have one, and that's what picks everything up out of the water, stores it. We rely on it for things that repair people's props. And Bill and I have talked about this, and he's aware of it, and it'll be easier when we have a number 2 up there, which was the head of my list was, that was the biggest single point failure we had was Bill. And you talked about it, I waited at this point, but, and that is, we're working on that, but we got very lucky, I think, that Bill was there and qualified to step in at the point when we needed a director. So I don't want to see us behind the curve if anything like that happens again for any other reason. So that's what I'm looking at as far as the planning part goes, is these kind of things. It's just going to stop us, and and the other one is in our development. Well, we've got a lot of irons in the fire here that are coming up, and I think we're all pretty much on the same page. We possible marine sanctuary, our global dryback area, and our wall coming down here. We have this type of development, and keeping an eye on what everybody else is looking at development. And we've got to be very careful on what we say and what we talk about, because I've already seen that, you know, we mention something and all of a sudden it creates a huge momentum out there in the public, and it can change things. But anyhow, I'm glad Amy asked me if I would chair it. I was very pleased to do so, and that's where my direction of thought is, and I'm open to listen to anybody else's input on what, you know, what your thoughts are on that, and how we can, you know, adjust any of that focus. Thanks. That was, and I will.
Get him?
I'll put something out in there, and we can have a little meeting, and we can talk about this too.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
You know, the thought that pops in my head, of course, we're limited on resources to do so, but even if you were doing it in just a small development document, you have a couple of categories that you talked about: business continuity, capital improvements, business development, or we kind of just, you know, at least bullet out, you know, here are some of the business continuity issues. So, here's what we're doing for, you know, business development. And then capital improvements, maybe here's what we think that we need, here's how much we think it's cost, here's where we think funding could come from, as a build-out over time. Because, you know, then you're sort of passing around a living, working document as opposed to, you know, just the kind of the report out where, you know, I'll admit I don't have a good handle on it. You're seeing it all in your brain, you two talk, and you can see it in your head, and I don't really know what it is.
Well, I think the important thing is you know, is to get these ideas out to the rest of the board and see if you're on board.
Yeah.
If that's the direction we want to go.
I produced about 6 months ago a infrastructure development plan of what we need to do immediately, what we need to do short term, what we need to do long term. It needs to be added to and looked at.
Yeah.
We've already checked off some of them,
Yeah.
but it's just, this is kind of like swimming upstream.
Yeah. No,
It's just,
Yeah,
but we need a plan.
But doing it part of the binder every
Right.
time, you can at least, you know.
And then what Fran says, yes, we need to do that. And what he said, you know, a lot of the plans we have, you know, I lose track of every plan we have. Some days as something else breaks, I rush to that, and then that other one gets pushed a couple notches down. So, but we need an overall plan.
The big plan and prioritizing
Yeah.
Our steps, just so that we make sure we get the big ones, you know.
We need to keep ourselves sane, because there's so many little, you can write rush to so many little things and we forget about the big
Well,
things.
once again, the number one item is your assistant on board, and then,
Yes.
and then we can, then that will be then delegated down. I think it's gonna make our task a lot easier.
Great. Move on to old business. Does anyone have any old business? I do not. New business. Motion 08-05-19, motion to ratify the fiscal year 2018 to 2019 annual audit as presented to the audit committee. Tom, would you like to move?
Yeah, I'll make the motion as chair of the audit committee, yes.
Second. Ken? Any questions for Tom?
No, it was a good audit. I read it.
Great audit.
No,
Clean audit, you can't get too much value in there.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion 08-05-19, to enter executive session for purposes of discussing labor negotiations. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll enter executive session. Motion 08-05-19 to resume regular session. May I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now in regular session, and I would like motion 08-05-19.
07.
07, motion to adjourn. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move, my first one.
There you go. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Good job.